So good morning everybody, and we have Brian Robinson's new boat that he dropped off, it was Friday, anyway, probably Friday, to have us put all this stuff on. I'm told that's called rigging. So we're going to be rigging this boat. This is a brand spanking new boat. No mileage, no nothing. Delivered straight from the dealer. So I don't know if you guys know Brian. Brian, it was in the NFL for 11 years. Worked very, very hard. It's my understanding that 11 years in the NFL is quite an achievement. That's what I'm being told. I know that Brian worked very, very hard at his profession, and it seems to work, or my take on it, works very, very hard at everything that he does. So I enjoy being around Brian. This is the third boat that Michael is going to be doing for Brian. He's done 2 previously, and so it's quite a compliment to be given the opportunity and the trust to work on somebody's brand new boat. And I think Michael and I probably would both agree that it's a little stressful when you get something that's basically off the showroom floor. We have to be extra careful to make sure that we don't scratch anything or put any holes where we're not supposed to. So we're going to be putting talons on the back, batteries in, all kinds of graphs here, 5-bank charger. This thing here, which I don't even know what this is, some mega imaging thing. Michael probably knows all about this good stuff. This is the box of cables, which I guarantee you we will not have all the cables. If we have the cables, every single cable, I'm taking Michael out for a steak dinner, and if we don't, he's taking me out for a steak dinner. We never have all the cables.
I didn't order the cables, so why do I have to pay for them?
Well, you can bill it off to Brian.
Okay.
Just bill it off to Brian if we don't have it. We have his handy dandy lock, which I don't know if we've talked about these in the past. I think they're a little bit of a joke, but anyway, it seems to be very popular. But this will just slow down your amateur thief. Your professional, this won't slow them down at all. But anyway, that's my 10 cents worth on those. Kind of looking forward to this project. It's always really nice when you're working on something brand new. Like I said, Brian works very, very hard, and I enjoy being around him. Everything that he puts his mind to, he works extremely hard at it. He's very frank and upfront, and he enjoys fishing. And if you haven't seen any of his Instagram posts or whatever, he's quite funny too. So, and he's just as funny in person, quite honestly. We was joking around on Friday. So we're looking forward to this. I really like the color. I heard it's going to be wrapped, you know, to each their own. But when this boat arrived outside, it was beautiful. The sun was shining down on it, and it was sparkling and all kinds of stuff. So I was pretty impressed with the color on this boat. Kind of like Michael, I'm a red and black kind of guy, but this really did look well in the sun. So we're going to be working on this. We're going to be making quite a few videos. I don't know if this is going to come out as one big video. Who knows? I'm not allowed in that department. But we're going to be showing you what we're doing. The plan for today is to get the talons on the back and get the trolling motor laid out. That is our big plan. We want to knock some of these boxes down to where we don't have as much just sitting around in the shop. So our goal is to pretty much have this boat wrapped up by the end of the week. We're gonna make a custom wiring harness for it. So we'll probably do that tomorrow or Wednesday. Make the custom warrant harness to get the harness up in there for all these graphs. And you know, probably be some other kind of custom work, which we'll keep you updated what we're doing on that. It's not going with Mealey Marine mounts this time, but big smile from Michael. But anyway, we'll see. But looking forward to getting started on this. It's kind of like Christmas, opening up all these boxes, you know?
Yeah.
So Michael and I are going to get started on these talons, which means he will get a workout because he holds them whilst I mold them in place. So we're going to set up a camera and we'll show you what we're doing. So as you can see, we got the talons on. The mistakes we made was we didn't get the angle correct on the first go around, actually even on the second go around. In this particular application we're maxed out on this. The only other way to do it, I don't see any other way to do it, but anyway. So right now we've still got everything snugged. We've checked the height. Based on the manual, it's supposed to be about 4 inches above. We're very close to that. Much more, the talons are going to be way off. So, quite honestly, this is a two-person job in my opinion. I guess you could do it by yourself. I used a C-clamp on my side when I was putting some of the bolts in to hold this up, hold this thing up, so that you don't get your fingers squished. So I put a C-clamp in there just to hold it up whilst I got the bolts in. So, you know, overall I think it went pretty well. It's a good job Michael knows what he's doing. Alright, I've had these all bolted on backwards. So I'm really happy with it. About 2.5 hours. About 2.5 hours to this point. So, which isn't too bad. We're not trying to set a record or anything. We want to make sure we do it right and do it right the first time. And quite honestly, I probably held Michael up more than I helped him on this, to be honest with you guys. Okay, so Michael's been working hard up underneath here. So what we've done, as we said previously, we'd pulled the covers. And what you need to do when you do this, and we've spent a lot of time talking about it, because quite honestly, I don't understand all these network cables and stuff, and I'm not going to profess that I know, but we have to get power cables through. We have to get, as we said before, 3 big power cables to the front. We need power cables here. Is it 1 or 2?
2.
2 power cables here. And we also, as Michael's telling me, we have to get network cables out and to the front of the boat and to the rear of the boat for the
transducers.
For the transducers.
Transducers to the console.
Yeah, but you get the idea. So what we've done is we have fishes up to this section here. Then we have it from that section out to the front, and then we have one from here coming through this section right here, which is this one. Now, that's the most difficult part of this deal is as we're pulling the cables, is getting them into this compartment. Getting them up front on this particular design doesn't appear to be too terribly bad. We have had some that from that point to the front of the boat is pretty bad. But what you need to do is, if you're doing this, plan it out. So we're going to start to pull wires, but the way we're going to pull the wires, we're going to pull the wires and we're going to put a string in there. That way, if we forget something, we can pull another one through, and then we would attach another string. Always leave a string in there. That way, if you have a mistake or have a problem, you're not spending the time redoing what we've done here. I think we probably spent an hour, probably about an hour on this. Who knows, something like that. But you don't want to. You really don't want to do that twice. So plan your routes. Now, Michael is a lot more familiar with all the cables that have got to go in. I only just kind of worry about the power cables and stuff. So he's pointing out to me, well, we've got to get this through and that through. So it's probably a good idea for you to make some notes of where you're running your cables and how many cables you've got to get through. So that's kind of the update. I know it looks like a mess, but quite honestly, here in a few hours, it's going to look a lot better than this. Really happy that we was able to get these snakes through. We have literally at times spent hours. I mean, I've got to the point where I got so frustrated I went home, and Michael stayed for another 2 or 3 hours and fixed the problem. So that's kind of the update for right now. Don't know how much. Sometimes the camera shuts itself off, so we get screwed up, but we're trying to videotape as much of this as we can. Well, actually, it's not video anymore, is it? We're trying to document as much of this as we can and share it with you, and been kind of keeping Brian updated as we go along, and so fingers crossed we'll be able to run some cables here, and we'll show you how we do that. So we just wanted to share something with you. Obviously we're running a lot of cables, and it's important to know which bunch of cables you're working on. And as you know, any of you guys have been following us for a while, we label everything. But obviously right now we're not labeling these because we don't know the exact length. So in this case we've put some blue tape on this and on this. That way we know that this batch goes to the console. And we'll do the same as the rest of the wires go through. Now, you go, oh yeah, well we've made that mistake and then had to send a testing thing or continuity test through the wires to figure out which is which. So as you do this, just make sure that you either pre-label a piece of duct tape, masking tape or something like that. That way you know which set there are. In this particular case, because we're going to be running so many cables, it's really crucial to us. If we don't, we can waste a bunch of time. So just keep that in mind when you're working on your project.
Also, when you're running your Ethernet cables, these are going to go into a port, and you know, Humminbird's kind of notorious for sometimes things don't work, and you have to just unplug the Ethernet cable and plug it back in. So what we've started doing, kind of going off what Dad said, is we tape each one a different color at each end, so you can see it at the accessory. So we'll know blue is going to be the first graph on the console, green is the second one, and it might not look the prettiest, but what it'll give you the ability to do is if a certain graph's not networking, you know where it's plugged into on the port. We only know that because we did one where we couldn't figure out what was going on, so we pulled each one of them. So just a little tip, you can get a roll of different colored tape at Home Depot.
Yeah, I just think it's important. You know, these things aren't really that important until you're trying to troubleshoot a problem, and then it becomes a big problem. So, you know, no matter how hard you try, and sometimes it's not your fault, sometimes it's the manufacturer's fault. You know, you get a bad box or a bad terminal on the box. Those things happen, that's just part of life. So this way it kind of cuts down on having to go back and research all the stuff you've done. Personally, I think it sets you apart from a lot of people on how they do their installations. So you always want to strive to be better than the next guy and thinking ahead, etc. So something as simple as that when you're out on the water could, you know, help you solve a problem real fast. So just keep that in mind. I think it's a great idea, and so we're ahead of the game, except for we don't have enough wire. Well, good morning, everybody. So I played delivery boy yesterday. Meant to pick up some wire. So should have enough wire to finish this job. So our game plan for today is obviously to get this mounted correctly, whatever the additional, this thingamabob here. Everybody should have one of these. Check it out at Mealey Marine, wherever it is, you need one. So, what is this damn thing?
It's a turret.
Huh?
It's a thing for your live sonar.
It's a thing for your live sonar. So everybody should have a live sonar. Not very familiar with this stuff, as you can tell. But we didn't have the right bracket. We needed this bracket. So I'm told. I have no idea. But by the end of today, I'll know. So we got the right bracket, I believe. And we're going to be mounting this. We're going to be getting the wires round. And I'm hoping we get a lot of the communication cables round today. So yesterday we kind of stalled out because we ran out of wire. You know, on your wire, make sure you get quality wire. Don't be just picking up stuff at the store. We had to rewire a boat, or I say we, Michael rewired a boat last week because original wire in boats was not tin something or other.
Copper tinned wire.
Copper tin wire, and it tends to degrade over time. This boat's an older boat, and we had a lot of trouble. I keep saying we, I wasn't even more. The connectors keep breaking, so keep those things in mind. Spend the extra few dollars and get the right wire. Okay, so that also is available at Mealey Marine, I believe. So anyway, so that's kind of the game plan. I think we did really well yesterday, and I think we'll get with it today and get this thing knocked out, and hopefully, probably this is a little optimistic. I don't think we'll be completely done tomorrow, but we should be on the downside of it tomorrow. Probably get it wrapped up on Thursday, because we've got to get everything communicating, and I guarantee you those things will all need updates. Probably should take them all home tonight and update them. I don't know. Our internet is very slow here, so sometimes getting the updates done is kind of difficult. So it's
coming along. Very happy with it. You know, so Michael did a good clean up yesterday afternoon, put the tools up, and it'll be all a mess here in a few minutes. So we'll get started on this, and we'll do an update here in an hour or so after I get this bracket all figured out, and kind of show you what I got going on. Okay, so as you can see, we got this mega live imaging thing on it. Couple of pieces of advice. This thing gets a sleeve up here that's on the inside of this, and then this slips over the top. We couldn't get it to go like this, so we put the sleeve on, we disconnected this here, the top, and then fed the screw through. It's pretty tight in here. I'm not really very impressed with the fact that these wires go over the top or under this threaded screw. So I think that's got potential problems, but they're the designers, I'm not. So it's a little bit of a brain tease to get that all to work correctly. I would not put this on. I would just feed the wire through and have this hanging. That way you can see to get the screw through to the other side, and then make sure it's all lined up in the right direction. So the other thing is, and I don't know if this is one of these, we have a lot of people that go out and buy this expensive thing, and I don't know what it is, and a lot of them have cut their wires. So be really careful if you do an install like this or put one on your boat, that you make sure that you have all your wires out of the way for when this is deployed. And we're going to be very careful of that, because we have obviously a lot of wires, and you don't want to get your wires trapped in here somewhere where it severs them, because like on one of the things it's $1,000 or something. You know, I think it's pretty much $1,000 if you cut the cable. So I'm sure you guys have all seen horrifying stories on that, but just kind of keep that in mind. So we're going to plow on with this. We're still waiting on a piece to put here. Rick's going to be bringing that to us, and but we're going to get as much of this done, and then we're going to start pulling wires, the rest of the wires and the communication cables. Okay, so Michael just put the through the hole
transducer.
Through the hole transducer?
Somewhere down in there.
We're going to take one of the hoses off, and we made a video. It's very hard to see in there. I don't know how much you'll see, but we'll add it in just because he's done this before. You know, the key about something like this is make sure everything's clean, and making sure that you have direct access when you put the epoxy on there. The epoxy was really nice this time. It was a two-part thing, and you squish it all together, rolling it backwards and forwards, and then you just glob a whole bunch on the bottom and stick it to the bottom of the boat. But if you don't have your boat clean, it's not going to stick. I mean, come on guys, you know that. You don't
even a new boat, there was 2 hose clamps, screws, fiberglass foam. They're dirty. So
you can see also we got all our wires ran, and
that's a lot.
That's a lot of wires. But as I said yesterday, we have a direction on the boat based on what the client wants, but that direction can change down the road, and we don't want to back ourselves into a corner on this particular application. Yes, we will do some sheathing back here to get all the wires neat and tidy like we always do. We will do the same up there, but we're not going to be doing any permanent kind of stuff. So if we need to pull one of these wires, change it out, make it bigger, whatever, we have that ability to do it.
I think it's really key to, like, you got to think of like the customer, right? Like there's race cars and then there's normal cars, and if this is his job, you know, so you have to think of it differently than you would wire the boat that you're going to keep for 5, 6 years, 7 years, your whole life, as compared to he's going to go through this boat every year, but he also needs to be able to troubleshoot it quickly, right? Where if something is wrong, a quick fix can be done, right?
Yeah, I think that's Michael's making an excellent point there, and I'm not familiar with all these processes, but you know, Hugh changes his boat out once a year. All these guys at least change their boat out once a year. Some of them actually have 2 boats and stuff. So I guess it depends on what level you're at. You know, Brian's at a level where he's doing this, and you know, he's promoting businesses and himself and everything else that he's got going on. So this is a business to him. So from our point of view, we're doing it to make our life easy, and we're doing it to make his life easy. So if he has a problem out there, that he's able to call us and we're able to troubleshoot it fast. Everything will be labeled, everything will be identified, and it'll make it a lot easier. If we had this all sheathed up and he comes back and he wants to change up all the graphs, there's already been some conversations about the front graphs. You know, we're just in a better position to react to it. And like Michael said at the end, I'm not making up excuses. We spent a lot of time, quite honestly, talking about this before we decided to go in this direction. And you know, you kind of go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And my concern was that if we have to change this up and we've got one of the big harnesses in there, then we're basically going to be redoing the entire work. Okay, so we're placing this puck here. It was decided to place the puck here basically because that's where the client wanted it. We wanted to try to leave the back of the boat clean. Obviously back here is probably the preferred spot, but it's not. It has a lot of curvature to it, so it's just not a good place for sitting down. So we put it here. But one of the things that when you go to drill holes into your hull, or your deck, or whatever the hell you call this thing, you make sure that you know what's on the back side. So we pulled this cover here and stuck our hands up in there, and I'm bleeding now, see that? And you see what's underneath. What actually, right here, right behind this, where this hole is a bunch of cables. So you make sure that all your cables are out of the way. Right here is the fuel tank, and here on this side is more cables. So what you want to do is when you're doing this, just don't go drilling a hole in there, or you could have a big problem on your hands. So those are the things. Taking an extra little bit of time, giving a little blood. You make sure that you don't create yourselves more problems. The other thing is this particular piece is 2 pieces of aluminum. It must be like a rectangular piece or something, and then there's like 2 pieces of fiberglass underneath. So we literally, to get all the way through, it was all the way up to the top. The other thing is you don't punch through. Like I kept telling Michael, it's kind of a fine line. As you're just about to break through, you want to break through, but you don't want it to drop in, okay? And that takes patience, and it takes a little bit of practice, and don't get overexcited or whatever. The other thing that we did was we stuck a piece of wood up in there too. That way, if by accident that he did punch through, it's going to hit the wood and not hit the fuel cell or grab any wires or anything that are back there. I've been running some cables, the communication cables a little bit. Might as well give you the rest of that update. So we've got 3 of our communication cables now going into here.
So we're getting that puck installed and be bringing that. Does that come up to here?
No, just the graph.
Up to the dash.
Show them that. We haven't shown them that.
So Michael has gone through and identified everything, as you can see, and we will continue to do that throughout the process. You need to do this, do it whilst you're doing it, that way you don't get confused and spend most of your time chasing your rear end. And then after we get that done, we're going to start, our focus is going to be up at this end of the boat, getting all of this tidied up, all of our connections made, so that we can start to button up and then work our way through the boat. Now some of that is going to depend on parts availability. Rick is supposed to be delivering our, what is it? 360. 360? Better not be in the afternoon, Rick. Go to work here early in the morning, so get up and get our part delivered. So we're waiting for our 360 to arrive to get it put up on there. We really would like to have this pretty much close to being buttoned up by the end of the day. Connections made, labels made, all that kind of stuff. So we seem to be on target for that. But we'll keep you updated on what we're doing, and anything else that we think about whilst we're doing it. The same applies up here, because we've got to drill some holes here. And the same applies when you start punching through this, that you don't obviously drill into all the cables that are up under here. The other thing about it is think how you're going to cover it as well. So don't just go drilling a hole and then go, oh, I've got to put a cover on top of this. So choose your cover and everything. You know, kind of think that part of your project through, that you know that when you punch the hole there, you're going to be able to have a good cover on it to keep as much water out as you can, and then it look aesthetically pleasing as well. There's nothing worse than just having, you know, boats coming here, they've got a big old hole drilled and the cable going through, and it's like, really? So anyway, that's what's going on, and we'll keep you updated. We're going to have to, this morning we spent a little bit of time, this is kind of where this graph is going to go, kind of like that, but then we're going to have to build a plate to bring this one out here so it misses this, and that's all you can really do. Actually, Michael pointed out this morning, they offset the holes, but even with that, this is still too close. As you can see over here, everything's kind of lighting up and telling us that things are talking to one another. And I guess that's really it. You know, this is a lot of equipment up here. I had to offset the graphs
so that when this is deployed, we don't knock off the screens here. Now, you think, well, that's pretty damned obvious. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know how long ago, but Michael and you were working on a boat that was brought to them to finish up, and the person had installed the graphs but never deployed this. Fortunately, they've been around long enough that they pulled on it and started moving and went, holy shit, this is going to take these graphs off this boat. So if the customer had deployed this, the graphs would have gone, or the graphs would have been damaged or something. So, you know, you say to yourself, how do those things happen? Well, they happen. So make sure that if you're doing this or placing this a certain way, make sure it's not going to hit your graphs or anything else that you have up in this area. Overall, good build. I'm just waiting on Brian, supposed to be by today to bring the battery, and we'll get an update on the rest of the parts. But for the most part, this bad boy's done, or we've done with it. We're going to be working on our other project back there today and getting that one knocked out. So appreciate your time, and we'll keep you updated.
All right, guys, we just finished up Brian Robison's boat, and I really appreciate you guys for watching the whole thing. We're going to do a real quick walkthrough, but if you want to see the full, complete walkthrough of this boat, head over to Brian Robison's YouTube channel. I'll put a link up here at the top, and you can check out the full video there. But like I said, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough. So up here at the front, we have the 360, Mega Live, target lock. We installed an Ultrex, and we got the two Solix 12s Mega SI units up here. Moving on back, we put two network hubs in here because he has so much going on. They communicate with each other, and everything is labeled as well. Here at the console, we got two Solix 12s on top of a Bass Boat Technologies dual mount. Nice and sturdy. It'll be a good mount for him this year. Real quick before we get into the back compartment, we installed two Minn Kota Talons. We got them on the breakaway where you can fold them down. Turned out really nice. I really like the Minn Kota, Minn Kota brackets. Then here in the back compartment, we installed 4 Battleborn lithium batteries, a Odyssey AGM cranking battery. Since he has 5 batteries, we had to change out his charger to a 5-bank Minn Kota charger that also does lithium batteries as well. And then lastly, we have our Mealey Marine wiring harness. This is a special harness just for Brian, everything labeled, all the fuses here, and that is connected to a Perco switch that is labeled and runs to our house battery. So guys, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. And like I said, please be sure to head over to Brian Robison's YouTube channel for the full